So
Okay.
I have a client to 10, so I have to get off about 5 minutes before that.
Mhm.
Oh, I thought
Okay.
I was going to jump on this morning just for a little bit.
Yeah.
How
Well,
are
if it's
you?
just you and I, then I don't know.
Yeah, and it's being recorded.
Yeah.
We could always look
We
back
better
on
think
this
of
moment
something,
together.
something, very educational to talk about.
So George is going to watch this because he's excited that there might be something brilliant being said this morning about him. And George, right now, you could tell nothing brilliant's coming out of my mouth or Steve's. So
I had a
you don't
topic.
have to post this one right now.
Yeah. I had a topic to discuss today,
Oh,
but the right guy isn't on the meeting.
no.
But so I'll give it to you, Larry. How's that?
Yeah. Oh, okay, I'll give it a shot. But
Okay. So it's in the area of getting business or business owners to work with you, collaborate with you. Um, we know it's kind of a challenge. Well, we know what clarity is, right? And how much work that takes a business owner, which frankly isn't too much to at least to do the assessments. But even that's kind of a challenge to get business owners to agree to do that. So and the genesis of this question, I was researching another coaching system for the last week or so, and it requires a lot more heavy lifting on the part of the business owner. So if Joe is here, I direct the question at him, because that requires behavioral changes more than just sitting down and taking a simple assessment. Maybe a valuable assessment, but it's not heavy lifting for the owner. So I was just wondering the differences in the type of clientele that are willing to change their behavior, what sort of different conversations you need to have with folks if you want them to do something, follow a system that requires behavioral changes. So that was my issue.
yeah, yeah, no, but it holds for everybody. That challenge holds for everybody. And I might not bring it up on the coffee clutch as much as maybe privately with George, but also with other people in my other circles. And it's like a lot of things in life for all of us. We all have a blind spot that we cannot picture something valuable that we've never had experience with. And so we're always hesitant to spend time, but it's not just time, it's belief in it. What is this really going to bring? And willingness to be vulnerable in the process, to give up something of myself. I don't know, Larry, I don't know Steve well enough yet.
Yeah.
So in the world of sales, thinking like a buyer, which are books are named after it, and I was coached by a guy who wrote a book, Think Like a Buyer, and putting ourselves in their shoes is the first thing I try to do. You know, they
Mm-hmm.
run the gamut. If you take a guy who owns a plumbing business, 30 million, all he wanted to do was vent for 2.5 hours and say to me, help me, help me. And as soon as I proposed something formal, he shut down
Mm.
completely. I I don't know what he wants. So the emotion was there. I'm bringing it up because you were talking about the behavior. Behavior is
Right.
we don't get change unless there's emotion. It has to go from the head to the emotion. And this is a guy who was full of emotion and spent 2.5 hours with me, but yet unwilling to make the change because that vulnerability that he has to have, the pain of making change is just not worth it. He'd rather just vent. And he doesn't,
Yeah.
and I'm expensive to vent too.
Yeah.
You are. So that's extreme. Other people show up, from my experience, heart and mind, knowing they need to make change. And so the question is for Joe, for all of us, is what are the signals of someone ready to make change. And I don't always know going in when someone's going to provide those signals. So I have to ask questions that remove the words like think and substitute them for feel. Like, how does
Yeah,
that feel? When you told me about that challenge, how is it impacting you, your time, your money, your legacy, your business, your dollars? How is it impacting you? Boom, boom, boom. Intellectual. How
mhm,
does it feel to you? Those are the
mhm.
questions we ask around those areas, the impact it's having, and then how does that feel to you? What are you willing to do differently to get a different outcome? Really commit to
Yep.
doing. So
Mhm.
those are the things I do question, and in that we differentiate ourselves. We move from consultant to advisor by asking those type of questions, and we build know
Yep.
you, like you, trust you, and they're more likely to maybe to act. But I would still say, even with that, how many always, it's majority of business owners don't want to. Some don't
Right.
need to,
Yeah.
but some are quite good.
Well, let me push back on that. Well, first of all, I agree some are quite good, but you and I are both familiar with the stats, and I think it's like less than 6% businesses make it over 1 million. So that suggests that quite a number of business owners could use some help.
Well, that's true. I'm seeing them only when they're already over 4 or 5 million at minimum. So if they're
Yeah,
already at a certain level of success, have a certain track record and confidence and knowledge of how to, and so the percent of them being good is a little bit higher.
yeah.
In the peer group I have, I mean, a guy built $140 million business, and he is still in the peer group. He still wants that and needs it. But yet here's a man who, when you listen to him, you say, wow, a lot of the things we talk about in Coffee Clutch, he has he has it down already. He knows how to do a lot of what we're talking about. But yet he
Well,
recognizes he
that,
still
that
needs the group.
to me that indicates a personality that sort of personality that is willing to be in a peer group like that is part of the reason he got to 140 million, I think.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Uh, the discussion that the topic I think you brought up last week that I don't know how we ended up with the topic, but a lot of, and it's similar to what we're talking about right now. A lot of business owners get to quite a bit, a high degree of success without any of us experts trying to help them. Or so I amuse myself frequently having conversations with various AI tools. So I use that topic and had a discussion with one or two AI tools, and yeah, the the bottom line is that all us quote unquote experts aren't wrong about things that ought to be done, but some people can get to success without all us experts. But it's not because they aren't following stuff that we would uh, propose or advise. It's just that they ended up there maybe through trial and error. Maybe they failed 15 times, but they ended up doing something we would have advised them to do earlier. But nonetheless, they one way or the other they figured it out on their own, and hence they're now successful. Or the guy that you brought up last time, and I think you're talking about him, mentioned him again, is maybe they're innately an excellent people person, and they're excellent leaders. And we know, the popular business literature anyway says that can beat a lot of other things, other techniques in terms of causing business success. So
Yeah. No, well said. And that is the same guy who I spoke about just before as last week.
yeah,
And he is a unique bird, and he is hyper dedicated to his people. As long as they're dedicated back, it just keeps gaining stronger. You show me dedication, I'm going to show you more. You show me
Mhm.
more again, I show you more. You get married, I'm giving you a big wedding gift, and that type of thing builds a culture of people who are dedicated to what they do. And then new people come on and see it. They don't know better. This is our environment. And that, plus his innate smartness around the market. And here's a guy
Mhm.
who doesn't know the difference between a business plan, a strategy plan, an exit plan, a goal, an objective, an OKR, a strategy. Doesn't care, never has it, and he built this really great business. So
Mhm.
that might be a formula that we don't talk about enough in what we do, and how can we combine clarity with that element of knowing your market incredibly well and how to navigate it, with that of how to motivate your employees. He doesn't even have a formal structure of management, and it's going to keep growing. So yeah.
Well, that's a testament to that one, to the people driver, how important that is to any business. Leading them appropriately and getting them aligned. If everyone's aligned, obviously, our textbooks would tell us that, uh, at least if they're going in the right direction. You can be aligned in the wrong direction, but he's apparently pointing them in the right direction, and everyone is aligned, and hence having success, in the marketplace.
Yeah, works for them, but that's not a formula every business owner could go to bat with and think they're going to break through that $1 million mark,
Yeah.
like you said, and keep growing.
Mhm.
Oh, you're right. Because he's unique in that sense. So it's
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. But I think we all have the same challenge, and that is we might have a lot of conversations with prospects, but how many of them turn over to clients in a percent that we think it should, because uh, we think we'd be a good two-way fit, but they don't always see it, or there's this hesitation, something that holds them back from making that commitment. And
Yeah.
it's really, there's not a formula for cracking it. It's feeling the moment, but recognizing we're in a volume game like any other type of sales and marketing. And the more
Mhm.
interactions we have, and every time I step up my number of interactions, I get more opportunity.
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah.
not easy, right? Business development, self-business development for our own business is never an easy thing.
Right. But you're absolutely right. You know, uh, it's it sounds negative to say that it's a numbers game, but in fact it is. I mean, it's more than numbers, but you have to have the right message when you're having the discussion. But if you aren't having the discussion or enough of the discussions, then it just isn't going to happen. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And there's no one way. Some people say, oh, I do it all through LinkedIn, or I do it through cold calling, or I do it through networking. I know other people say, I have to do all of that. you know.
right.
And one of the
Yeah.
things I do is, um, and it's taking years to do it, I do speaking engagements. Most I
Yeah.
don't get paid for. I have three that I will get paid for this year, and for a national education organization in home health and hospice. And I've done it also in
Huh.
the banking world, both. In fact, it's the same gentleman who owns both webinar systems of education, one in
Mhm.
community banking and one in home care and hospice. And I speak on different business leadership topics, and they pay me. I don't get paid a lot, but they pay, and I get exposure. From that,
Yeah.
I've gotten a couple of clients, and my other speaking engagements, including at 10 o'clock, they're a client for 9 years. They met me in person at a business forum where I led it and spoke on leadership strategies. They loved it. They hired me. That's 9 years ago, and we're still right now working together. And so that's from public speaking. or
One of the best ways to demonstrate your credibility and knowledge. So
yeah, yeah. So that's the fourth.
if I knew the English language, I'd maybe try that, but I got problems with English.
Well, it's your second language, business being your first.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, no. Oh, here's Joe. You get Joe's opinion.
Okay. Excellent.
We're in
I
suspense.
wonder if he's in his mobile office or he's outside in the tent.
Oh, right, right. There we come. There he is. Oh, neither.
Oh, he's inside. You're muted, Joe.
Hey, yeah, there you go. I could tell. Big fan of silent movies. Closed caption, Joe. We need closed caption.
So we sit here in suspense. Will Joe conquer it?
Nope.
Say something. No.
Nope. He's trying. Usually people who have headsets on, earbuds, those sometimes create difficulty in syncing up.
Yeah. Well, if he struggles long enough, he'll start making diagrams. Get knowing Joe.
Yeah, yes, he can hear us. Well, Steve, we'll keep chatting a little bit. He's coming through his phone now.
Okay.
Okay, now we've got an echo, but we can hear you.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure what's going on. I had a meeting this morning with a client and I had to join from my phone, and I'm sure it's just a simple switch, but
There generally is, but it's frustrating.
no George this morning.
George is tied up until 10, apparently.
Okay. All right. So
and I was missing you, Joe, or we were missing you, because I had the topic for today. I had a topic for you.
what's that?
So I was wondering about this topic. You know, we're all familiar with clarity and 1 and 2, and even that's a challenge to get business owners to do, and that's not really heavy lifting.
Right.
And in fact, it's pretty, 15 minutes for the first level. So how hard is that? But even that's kind of tough. Where in the genesis of this question, I was studying another coaching system fairly heavily for the past week or so, which requires behavioral changes. And of course, EOS requires behavioral changes as well. So to me, that's an order, 1 or 2 orders of magnitude more challenging to convince a business owner to do it, because it's actually a little bit of heavy lifting. They have to modify their behavior, which clarity doesn't end. So that was the general topic, Joe. I don't know if you've got any comments on that.
So okay. Is that better?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I was just looking at our agreement form that I used. That's provided to me by the white label coach's coach.
Yep.
And in it, we talk about commitments, right? And this is where you're talking about commitment to the owner. They talk about the scope of services, do strategic plan session, coaching session, team day, applicable learning materials, critique services. And I have different, different platforms for different. We got a platinum, gold, silver, whatever. And so in all this packaged up, a lot of it is, remember, best money you make is the money that you don't have to, the time you don't have to spend. So oftentimes the owners get so overwhelmed with to-dos. The important thing that in the scope of services we talk about is investment time. And the clarity part of that is saying time invested will need to be applied towards implementation of the agreed strategies and tactics. This investment can come from you or your assigned team member vendor, but you are ultimately responsible for the champion of the timely completion of these strategic and tactics. So ultimately, what you're talking about, Steve, is a softer behavior change, but ultimately you're responsible to getting the work done. I don't care how it gets done internally, you know, you assign it, whatever. But clearly in this agreement, we're putting the ownership on the owner.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I think from a behavior standpoint, we're not expecting you to change totally, because that's, you know, heck, we're going to freedom, right? So freedom being that, you know, I don't want you to change, but people around me, I can get out of the chaos phase and go into the next phase, and really sort of get people around me to start following, and assigning things to do. That's where I think the coolness of the exit planning part of it is, that, you know, we're taking your ideas and then help coaching you to getting stuff done through others. So would I approach it as a fundamental change? I don't know. I would maybe lay the work at the feet of the CEO and say, here ultimately is what we have to get done. Let me help coach your individual parties involved, and introduce you to a outsourced CFO guy, whatever. I mean, there's a lot of ways of skinning the cat.
Yeah, but yeah, see, Larry has a client he has to go get ready for. So where I'm coming from, Joe, is, you know, clarity, worst case is a 2-hour commitment, answering some questions. And EOS and other systems like scaling up or whatever, you know, you're talking about a 2-day offsite, and then a series of meetings throughout, you know, weekly, quarterly, annually, etc. So it's probably a significant time commitment compared to doing something easy like a clarity assessment. So I was just pondering that recently as I was studying, and was wondering, you know, getting owners to do the clarity thing is hard enough, let alone getting them to modify their behavior.
Yeah, I had matter of fact, I got a meeting this afternoon with a rather large nursery wholesaler, and I'm guessing they're doing $50 million or so. And they've had a hired gun come in, and the hired gun wants to talk EOS. And what I've discovered in this 5 steps of freedom is that we can blend in EOS. We do this all this is on 90IO platform. So what we're doing, we're going in and we're using the 1-page business plan from the Scaling Up Burn. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's all and we're sort of morphing to a delivery model that it's able to be sprinkler host. Okay, so, you know, we got to figure out, one is that, you know, look at the coach itself. How do you streamline their work? And I'm a belly to belly guy. I've been all the time, right? I mean, this just is contact sport. It's just what it is. So that's what I grew up on. That's what I cut my teeth on, not only as a member for 10 years, but then as a coach for 10 years. So for me, it's hard to get past this driving there, getting there. But now the whole, pandemic has created this expectation of a video call is sufficient. And oh, by the way, it's tremendously more effective. And oh, by the way, if I can give the customer a package and like that half an hour per week, and then I do strategic planning with them, give them about a 4-hour block of strategic planning, I'm able to do that for about $1,400 a month. Okay. So we're getting it. And then one of the things that Eric, with coach Eric Darmar, I'm not pronouncing the name right, but he was talking to Gino. He said the problem we have is rot. This is what do you mean? So it's sort of a tree rot when you're talking about the patterns of the night of the EOS and the fact that you go in there on a quarterly basis and doing your 3 big sprints and then you leave your team to their own devices. Oftentimes they're just managing. They're not necessarily driving new. They're just managing in order to kind of do enough to keep the owner satisfied. But are they taking big risks? Are they doing anything larger than that? And so you get this rotting from the core out and over a period of time, the leadership team, if left to their own devices, will continue to kind of limit what they have to do to kind of pass the grade. Nothing against that, it's behavior, whatever. So if we would then look at this blending of the 5 steps of freedom along the way, we're moving the team through the different phases, and there's just like in the chaos phase, we're doing the break-even plan. Do we know what break-even is on this? How do we bid a job if we don't know what our break-even point is? I just got off the phone with an air conditioning guy who wanted to sell the business, found out he couldn't sell the business for anything really. Been around 28 years, and to come find out you have nothing. And so he's now like, hey, well, I'm getting back on that wagon, getting back on that horse. So today in the meeting is, so you're not telling me anything new. Okay, Jim, I know, but this is the place to start, right? Oh yeah, we gotta, but we have to remind them because it's a launching process, right? It takes a lot of fuel to get off the ground. We're not telling you anything new, Steve.
And as you know,
but if you could give them because this stuff's a fire hose. That EOS stuff's a fire hose. Unbelievable, because they're trying to deliver as much value in the shortest period of time possible. Boom, 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 damn the torpedo straight ahead, right? Or we can say, we are in the phase of the early start creation phase. We got to get through this and slow everybody down to make sure that we're passing the mustard. So is that the right way? I don't know, but it would appear from my personal experience now has been it's a great way to kind of for everybody to feel good about the time invested and not feel like they're being overwhelmed by the tyranny of the strategic plan takes priority over actually closing a job. Yeah, what the hell's that about? We got to close a job, and okay, we'll get to strategy some point. Well, okay, but if you can have a steady diet, and this is where going back to the rot is, Eric's like, if we can get in there once a week and a steady diet of just checking in, that relationship remains evergreen, and you're able to detect versus somewhere where EOS that you wouldn't talk to a company for a quarter at a time. You drop in and you're like, haven't been able to stay in touch. I don't know, that's what's exciting me about the coach program that I've been doing now for about 6 weeks. I had to move into something that I was more familiar with as it relates to client base that I've had.
And that the suggestion there is meet once a week.
Yeah, so within 90, we'll go in and we've identified what are the key KPIs we're tracking, what are the good news, anything that's we try to eventually we'll get into rocks, right? So we'll review the rock. We'll just do the 90. We'll do the L10 meetings within the 90 software, but with a twist on it, using the what we call Learning Academy as Silver Bullets Academy. I'm trying to get the terminology right, but then we'll pick up a silver bullet, and basically the first one is what's your unique selling proposition and what's your guarantee, and we'll work it, and then we go to the next one. But it could take you a month to get through one of the bullets, but you're making progress and you're fairly cost effective at it. And our goal is to have like a bill out about $250 an hour on average. That's the goal. I think that's reasonable. I think in the EOS world, they're pushing average, anywhere from, I think their minimal they'll recommend was 3,500. It's maybe gone up now since then. It's been several years, but there's some guys still charging $10,000 out there for a day. Hey, they're getting it, and they're providing value in their customers' minds. So who are we to judge?
Yeah. Well,
Was that helpful? I don't know.
Yeah. Are there any substantial differences between I'll use EOS, but one of the systems that requires behavioral changes versus a tool like Clarity, which is more of implement what Clarity says requires behavior change, but just to take the assessment doesn't require any behavioral changes. So is there any difference in the so-called avatar?
Yeah, coachability. It just comes back to coachability. Are they willing to, yeah, they could afford it, whatever, but I go back to my recruiting Vistage members days, and they're open to flogging once in a while by peers in a safe space, but we need to be able to.
They need to recognize that they may not know everything.
Right. Yeah. And there's early signs of that in their lives that show up, right? And usually it's when they've been punched in the face or punched in the mouth. And they realize that, I remember making my first, paper million, whatever. No, this is easy, and then I got punched in the jaw. I'm like, what the hell? It was just like, so, when is that student ready? And when do you appear?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's all timing, and it's all a matter of, so we're doing a drip campaign, just kind of like peppering them with, actually, I think, Larry or no, yeah, one of our guys is on it, Paul, and so he's on my drip campaign. So I'd be curious to see his feedback. I should put you guys all on there just to kind of sort of see what's being pushed out. And then one of the challenges that the coaching world is about the deal flow and the closing. We can do the work in our sleep. It's a matter of getting out there and prospecting and actually closing the deals, right? And so that's what this coach really primarily focuses on. And then with the 21 bullets there's a video, and it's just different. It's a different color wrapping paper, but it's same fundamentals. There's not, and the good news is it's not any more complicated than that. In order to be able to teach it at a 13th, a 12th grade level, because oftentimes it's no insult to anybody, to the owner perspective, but it's the people around him oftentimes have difficulty grasping ideas that just we need to be sensitive to overdoing the language. We got to be simple, and so that's sensitivity around Georgia stuff. A lot of times we got to be careful of being overly, and it's not just about the money, right? We're all trying to do these widget calculations, and as best as it's beauty in the eye of the beholder, right? So if you can get it, let's go for it. But but oftentimes, why is the company being acquired? There's got to be a bigger purpose behind it, and how do we get them to? It's like coaching small companies. It's like fly next to a potential acquirer and get to know them, and get the cultures to know each other. Have a project manager, use you guys. I mean, be the overflow guy, right?
Mm.
And they don't have my overhead. I'm meeting today at 11 o'clock. I had a new client start, and it's a moving company, and they got to increase their prices. 75. They got a 75% gorilla in the room of the client, and they're holding their prices at $38 an hour or $35, whatever. And like, you got to be kidding me. What? Who in their right mind works for $35 an hour? And where are you making any money or not? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
In their case, let's just fly beside a bigger entity, but then be respected by them by getting the fee that you need to charge, and make sure that 75% gorilla client becomes 50% as quickly as possible, because that's no way to live in fear of losing that one account, and then you're constantly compromising, you're constantly giving back extra margin just to appease them, and they know they got you by the proverbial gonads, right? And so,
not to mention your business isn't worth anything with in that case.
Yeah, and this guy's actually getting ready to sign on an SBA loan to buy his partner out. And I was like, okay, dude, you need to, you brushed me off last year. I mean, we started in on EOS, but but the good news is people we are delivering a hell of a service to people that just it constantly reinforces my as a Vistage member or Vistage chair. There would always kind of be more about the giving back to the community, and isn't this great? And they're kind of like, okay, we're indentured servants here because you're getting the money, and then you're giving us the fraction of the fee. That's the way it works.
Right.
And we should be like eternally grateful for the opportunity to lead this life that we are living as a Vistage chair. And I drank the Kool-Aid, I hate, but at the end of the day, the revenue share was pretty limited. And so the finding a program that helps you white label, minimizes the franchise fees, if there's a franchise fee at all. And the franchise arrangements are challenging, because then they're feeling like they need to put some, bumpers up in your, what you can and can't do. And now they're trying to manage your proverbial relationships. Well, really the way that this happens is you morph into a relationship because you have the relationship. It doesn't, sometimes you just can't predict what sells tomorrow, and if you're good at it, why not be able to offer it?
Yeah.
I've done a lot of talking, sorry.
No problem.
I do think that the clarity I've been working with George. I'm talking through this whole thing with them and kind of showing them what's going on, but I think we need to kind of understand there's the 3 dimensions. Is there a roadway through those 3 dimensions to get to ultimate? Is there anything graphically that we can to depict this process along the way? Where are they in stages? How well? I mean, we've converted it to a dollar figure. Okay, that's great. What if we were actually to break that down and did modules around, a white label? And this is beyond growth driver scope, I know. And yet I think that one of the things that we need to kind of figure out is, how do we deliver messaging around leadership team readiness. It's a wide open thing. And what is that? What is that? Right? And how would you measure that? And we're sitting there going, well, it's just a gut thing. Well, okay, help me help you. How would I put that in a KPI? Well, you're going to send some guys to the leadership conference and involve them with Vistage and
With Larry.
yeah, with Larry, right? Yeah, or in what's the group? That's the group you guys are running, right? That's what's it called.
No, well, I was thinking Larry because that's one of his core competency is leadership.
Yeah, but there's got to be a way that we measure this progress and emotionally get the owner to be excited about it, other than just a gut thing. I mean, we got
No, I agree. There needs to be, to the extent possible, some sort of objective measure way.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if we just kind of, would we be wise to kind of do a little bit of our own version of Shark Tank, and that we pull together a couple scholarship funds or something like that as an outgrowth of getting good exit plans as a business plan, and kind of understand just the give back piece of it is I think it might be an interesting way to kind of like demonstrate how does this all end, and how does this all the pieces and parts pull together. And I know every deal's a different deal. I like so Steve Cummings is doing that second bite of the apple program, and because it's an interim step, right? Because if all we know is the final, and we don't know that for 3 to 4 years, how can we measure? But if I had an interim step of a 30% bite of the apple sold off, equity round, okay, partnership for dancing, okay, but for the next 3 years we have somebody really challenging us to be the steward of that business the best we can be. And sometimes we're all needing help, but if you had somebody that's interested in like help you parent this company to a successful exit, for me that would be a great way to look at it. It's interim steps, so we know this is a 3-year 2-year time horizon, and then another 2-year time horizon.
Mhm.
Sometimes that 3 to 5 years just doesn't. I mean, in my Vistage days, everybody was like, 5 years, I'm out. 5 years or 10 years, whatever. That 10-year, just like 10 plus whatever. Matter of fact, one of the books I want to read is 10. It's my right is 10 years and you're out, and then the 10 is scratched out and it says 7. It says if you're not substantially changing your role in that organization, you're holding it back after 7 years. And I see these companies, people have been founders, have been around for 35 years, and they've stagnated in the chaos phase, maybe moved to the control, but certainly not replaced themselves. And congratulations, they have a JOB. It might be a really large JOB, but all intents and purposes, it's like you're it. So if we could sit there and say, emotionally, Mr. CEO, you need to move yourself off of that particular role and elevate your position to the owner's box, for instance. That's where that time, money, and people all come into play. Is like, where you lose sleep over, and how do we make it? So
yeah.
It's soap opera. I'm speaking to the choir of one, but I'm sure somebody will read it, watch this later on. So has that helped you? I don't know which program you're looking at. Can you say anything about that?
Well, whether the other two are scaling up in metronomics, and I was studying metronomics, but
Fascinating book.
Yep.
Difficult read.
yes.
When I give it, I will never give that to a client, by the way. Never. I might excerpts out of chapter 7, which is one we refer to when we're doing some strategic planning stuff. But I mean, yeah, smart
Yeah.
dude. And there's, but yeah, don't scare the client away with something like that. And that's why, we do a lot of work with the 5 dysfunctions of the team. I think that the Lencioni has a great way to kind of bring the reader in, and
Yeah.
kind of like I like
Yeah,
that.
I've always
I like that training module and training
Yeah.
way. People love stories, right? So
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't know.
I've got a meeting coming up, Joe.
Yeah,
So-
I got to go. So I hopefully that's helpful. I don't know.
Yep. Thank you.
I'm not all things EOS at all, but I think I have some perspective to it. But if you want to really get, talk to an implementer, professional implementer, they'll probably have a different spin on it. So, okay. Well, thanks for listening.
Yep. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye.